I grew up in domestic violence, so household where my dad was very abusive to my mom, physically, mentally, emotionally, and I never saw what a healthy relationship looked like. And I remember at second grade wanting that, like making a promise to myself I wouldn't become my dad. That like this, I knew deep inside like that this is not the way that it's supposed to be. And so my hero's journey started very early. Not wanting to become my father, wanting to be the best man, wanting to create and have a beautiful, thriving, peaceful, playful, healthy, happy relationship.
Emilio,
Hey,
dude,
hey.
it's so good to see you.
So good to see you, man.
All right,
Always a
so
pleasure.
we are getting right down to work, right?
Yes.
The O Coalition's all about coming in and getting to our center. And if
Mhm.
there's something that's going on in our life, if it's anxiousness or job related or who knows, this is a space where entering into a sacred space,
Mhm.
even though some people are going to be seeing this, but it's entering into a sacred space such that other people can also experience the healing for themselves.
Yes.
Because even if they're not dealing with the exact same situation, there could be some hope that comes like, oh, wait, if Emilio could open that up and have that new insight, maybe I can get a new insight for my situation.
Yes.
Right. And because the tools are the tools are the tools and they always work, but they never work if we don't apply them. And so I want to thank you first off
Mm.
for your courage and your willingness. And it's just awesome,
Yeah.
awesome to be with you.
Awesome to be with you. Happy to be here. It's like that nervous, exciting moment because I know when we do the work, it's like something beautiful is going to happen on the other side. And I'm happy to be witnessed because I think there's a lot going on in my life and just in humanity. And I think this is wonderful with what you're doing.
So give us just like a 30-second overview, like just so people understand like where you're at,
Yeah.
relationship and your work and just
Hmm.
kind of a little overview of why this kind of work is important to you.
Oh, why this important is important to me? Well, the why is a pain of purpose story. I grew up in domestic violence, so household where my dad was very abusive to my mom, physically, mentally, emotionally, and I never saw what a healthy relationship looked like. And I remember at second grade wanting that, like making a promise to myself I wouldn't become my dad. That like this is, I knew deep inside like that this is not the way that it's supposed to be. And so my hero's journey started very early. Not wanting to become my father, wanting to be the best man, wanting to create and have a beautiful, thriving, peaceful, playful, healthy, happy relationship. And it took a long time. And I certainly had to deal with a lot of anger issues, and I certainly became my dad in certain ways. And long story short, have done a lot of work and have spoken and coached and done retreats and events around this type of work for a very long time in men's work and shadow work. And so now what me and my wife do for our relationship company, Relationship Renegades, is to co-create a world where healthy relationships are the new norm because I just want to see that for everybody. And I help men create a heaven on earth for themselves and their partner because it's possible. And I finally have that. And I know that it's possible. And I can certainly dip into hell and go back into heaven and dip into hell in my consciousness. And so I want that for the world. And so I just want to give away my gifts, talents, and strengths and help play a bigger game to do that.
And dipping into hell, let's talk about that a little bit because that's one of the things that you've experienced, like with a variety of things. But anxiousness was something we talked about kind of coming into this that we were going to focus on first
Yes.
here. Tell me kind of how that shows up and where that's showing up today.
Yeah. So like we were talking about, the past few days have been better. However, life goes like this, up and down. And so, anxiety has showed up in a lot of ways in my life. About a year ago, moving to Utah, we were digital nomads for 3 years. So it was really just planes, trains, and Ubers. So I didn't drive for 3 years. And when we came into Utah to finally pick a home, I started driving again. And when I started driving, especially on the highway, I was managing a panic attack, having extreme anxiety on the road. And when I started going on to planes, the plane anxiety, when I was getting on chairlifts, skiing, it was that anxiety there. And, there's just a lot going on in this chapter where we just started trying for kids. I'm in this with career. I juggle a lot. It's TV and film. It's a relationship company that I mentioned, and it's sales on the side for a wellness technology company. And handling those all three is a lot, and all of those are just commission only, where I'm used to big salaries, big performance packages, equity in the company. Like, I'm just used to that from my background
Yeah.
in finance and accounting and other business development. And so I'm like, "Should I go back to that? Should I do this?" Right? Then it's because I wanna be able to provide all the time and protect and be able to be this divine masculine always for my family. And so there's that, you know, our landlord just, put our house on the market a couple weeks ago, and we got to get out in 90 days. And we don't want to get the house that we want to right now. So we're looking, do we rent again? Do we buy again? Because we're self-employed, it's harder to get a home, especially the one that we want, and taxes and all this stuff that, we got some back taxes, and we got a new saving for a huge down payment coming up for the house that we want. And so money coming up, and hence the like, should I pivot? Should I keep doing what I'm doing and just go full throttle with that? So it's just the back and forth with that. And so, yeah, so I think the anxiety comes from a lot of those things.
Let's pause for just a minute. So,
Um,
a couple things. Anyone who's listening to this, by the way, 9 of the 10 things you just rattled off, other people might be dealing with as well. So it's
mhm,
not, and you're dealing with a lot of them all at once.
mhm,
So one of the things that I mentioned prior to starting, and I think is really important as a baseline, is think of kind of your process as, climbing a staircase. And there's something about that energy of the driving
mm,
and the flying and the chairlift
mm.
that is, call it the next stair.
Yeah,
And so what I'd like to do, if it's cool with you, is let's start there,
yeah,
right? Because if we look at everything, it's a big ball of stuff,
mhm,
and it's like, well, where do we begin? And if we start with that first stair, then and clear out that obstacle, then it becomes a lot more obvious. Like, oh, wait, here's where the next stair is.
mhm. Yeah,
All right, cool.
sure.
All right. So we're gonna do two processes
Mhm,
with the anxious energy. And one of them is gonna have you actually feel level of anxiousness. And I use the word anxious because and there's lots of studies out there about, hey, don't own the anxiety. Everyone has the feeling of anxious at certain points. So let's enter into anxious energy. The energy of panic is almost an overwhelm of the anxious energy, where it's just so high, it's so high, it's so high. Well, then there's a crash or something happens.
yes.
And we want to go into it in a way that allows for you to be conscious and present, right? So if we ever get to like a level 10 and you're like, hey, we got to back off a little bit, just let me know. Like,
Mhm,
hey, let's back off and guide you back.
yeah,
And then we'll continue until it's obvious what the linchpin is. And
mhm.
then we want to pull that so that it collapses.
Sounds good.
All right. So you're familiar with the whole brain posture because we've done it before. But the whole brain posture where you cross your ankles and your wrists like this, and then you could tuck it up in your chest or there. And what I want you to do is test just energetically, like, hey, should my legs be right over left or left over right? And this is from Brain Gym. It's
Mhm,
something that, activates the corpus callosum and helps for all of the fullness of your brain to be like active,
mhm,
right? So if you are stuck in one side or the other, this can help
mm,
dislodge that.
mm,
So I'm going to ask you to close your eyes for a minute. And you mentioned the Ubers and then moving and then the cars and the planes. And I want you to think back to the first time where you felt kind of that panicky energy in one of those situations. It doesn't have to be the actual first, but the first one that pops up into your mind. Let me know when you got it.
I mean, I didn't think it was gonna be this one because I feel like it's less than the others, but the first one was like, chairlift with skiing with the family and just me being, like, high up and being, like, super scared.
Okay. So this is going to feel really uncomfortable, but you're just going to breathe and feel. And I want you to imagine being in that chairlift and looking over. Like just look over, keep your breath moving. And on a scale of 1 to 10, how high is your anxiousness as you look over it right now?
Yeah. Right now, it's just at a 1 or 2. I think it's hard for me to completely visualize and put myself there,
Yep.
honestly, right? It's hard to, like, really be there because part of me is like, "Hey, you're just right here, man."
All right.
But I'll do my best to kinda, like, really get
No,
there.
no, no. It's not a trying thing. It's just allowing. So I canceled trying to control the process out loud. I canceled
Cancel
trying.
trying to control the process.
I allow myself to feel the feelings fully.
Allow myself to feel the feelings fully.
Feel the feelings. Yep.
Feel the feeling. Feel the feelings
Fully.
fully.
You got it. And breathe there. Oh, the energy's starting to move a little bit more. I allow the anxious energy or whatever it's called to surface.
Allow that anxious energy to surface.
And breathe. Now, what level is it at on a 1 to 10?
2.
Now, I'm going to ask you to imagine leaning forward in the chair until you fall out.
Leaning forward or
Yep.
backwards?
Whichever way you'd fall. If you were to fall out of
The chairlift?
the chairlift, yeah. Imagine falling and fall all the way. Just imagine falling.
Imagine it, okay.
Just imagine falling all the way, all the way, all the way, as far as you can until you just keep falling or eventually hit something.
Well, I keep pulling myself back up on the chair.
Yeah, I see that. So breathe. Just allow yourself to fall out of the chair completely. Keep your breath moving. Feel whatever comes up as you're falling.
I haven't fallen yet. 1
Yeah,
second.
this is it. I allow myself to be safe falling.
I allow myself to be safe falling.
Keep your breath moving. What's happening? Got a lot of emotion coming up. Just feel it. Just feel it. You don't have to say a word. Just feel it fully. Stay with it until there's a physical, mental, or emotional shift. Keep your breath moving. There you go. You're safe. You got this. Keep the breath. Focus on the breath. Open the breath. Open the breath. Amelia, you're doing great. Let go of whatever you're seeing. Just say, hey, I allow it to go. In your mind, I allow it to go. I'm okay. There you go. I cancel trying to control.
Cancel trying to control.
I let it be what it is.
And let it be what it is.
I release my need for safety. I
I
release my
release my
needs.
need for safety.
There you go, and breathe. I cancel trying to change my past.
I cancel trying to change my past.
All right, we're almost there, okay? We're almost there. So, real quickly, I want you to tell me the number one reason why you were afraid to fall out of that chair is what?
I didn't want Rachel to be by herself if I died.
Yeah.
I was not with her.
There you go. Breathe, soften your throat. Yeah. And that's at the root of all of it. Open your breath. Open your breath. Open your breath. Nice and easy breath. As long as the breath's moving, the emotions can come fully, right? You got this. I cancel trying to be alive for Rachel.
I cancel trying to be alive for Rachel.
Breathe. So what we're going to do is clear this out now, okay? I canceled trying to make up a story. I canceled trying to make up a story
I cancel trying to make up a story
about my love
about my love
for anyone.
for anyone.
I allow love to be what it is,
I allow love to be what it is.
and I allow me to experience it right now.
I allow me to experience it right now.
Breathe. And I allow Rachel to experience it fully, independently of me.
And I allow Rachel to feel it fully independently of me.
To experience it fully, independently.
To have Rachel experience it fully independently of me.
There you go. There you go. Dude, you're doing great. All right. So I will invite you to, when you're ready, uncross your legs and arms and open your eyes, wipe your face a little bit. And we're going to talk and close this up in a way that allows for you to kind of go forward and never experience the level of panic that you've ever experienced, right? But allow you to recognize that you've taken a massive step forward. You've taken a huge leap in a healed state, and there will be an opportunity. You might go on the highway in 20 minutes and you'll recognize, like, oh, there's that energy. And when you do, that's the moment to close your eyes and say, I'm okay. We're safe. I am pure love, right? I allow love to be what it is.
Mm,
And that could be a mantra for a little while. Allow love to be what it is. So many people make it into something, especially with the situation you had growing up. There's a distorted attachment energy that it's like, hey, you want to be so different than your dad
mhm.
and you want to prove that you're so different, right? And part of that means that, hey, you better fricking be here to take care of the woman
Mm,
that you love, unlike your father had taken care of the woman that he was to love, right? And there was an experience that you
mm,
had that was like massive distortion. And so whenever someone has a massive distortion, they're going to find ways of revealing it to themselves. And
mm,
so anyone who has panic of any sort, it's
mm,
often due to some kind of restriction of energy that's like, okay, well, all you have to do is unlock what that restriction is. And Jesus gave us the answer, frankly, the Beatitudes and in the Lord's Prayer and all these things, all the messaging's there in a lot of different venues. But I love those, which we write about in
mhm.
The Lowly Prophet
Yeah.
and,
Look,
which you read.
yeah, amazing book.
And this is the work you read about, right?
Mhm.
I mean, this is it. This is the practical application.
Yeah.
So that idea of it's okay for love to be what it is. I allow love to be what it is. I allow love to be what it is.
I love to be what it is.
So now share your experience of whatever was happening for you,
Yeah.
and then we'll wrap up in a couple minutes.
Yeah, what was happening was, yeah, as I fell, I was just seeing Rachel. It also translates to the road too. I just feel like because of the anxiety, because you feel like you're gonna die when you're having these panic attacks, whether it's on the road, on the chairlift, or on the road, or just at home, or if I'm going to sleep. And it's also like with a regular heartbeat, and I feel like my heart's about to stop, and I'm like, oh, well, what if I die? And like, what about my mom and my sister and Rachel, all these people that I love? I think there's a component to that, to like just seeing people like hurt, because I just grew up seeing people hurt all the time and like not wanting people to hurt, and suffer and go through pain. But I know that that's okay too. But I think there's a part of that. And then I think there's a part of it that I really feel deep in my heart that I'm meant to do big things here with my gifts, talents, and strengths. And I feel that I've just been playing small and that I can play a lot bigger. And I'm not playing a lot bigger for lots of reasons. And I think like if I died, I'm like, wow, I like didn't get to like do those things I wanted to do to really help humanity.
Yeah.
And so I feel like, wow, if I died, that I haven't done it. And like what a waste. So I think there's a part of that that, like, is also there as well. I think I was feeling all of that at once.
So would you be willing to stick around and we'll do another kind
Yeah.
of episode, if you will, and we'll do it on that?
Yeah.
Like, cause that I think could help a lot of people too, where there's this untapped potential in a person, and how do you get into severe alignment, let's call it, such that the only force of nature is such that you're propelled forward, right?
Yeah.
And toward what it is that, you can create. Would you be willing to do that?
Absolutely.
All right, cool. Let's
Yeah.
do that. Um, and I would love for a report back, later. Like,
Mhm.
let's see, because even the heart thing, like think of it this way. If you were a genius and you were to write down on a chalkboard all the different ways that you could help get Emilio's attention for this thing he's hanging on to about a fear of dying and leaving behind, his love in life and mom and family and all this stuff. What could you do? It's like, oh, well, let's make sure that and we wanted to bring it to your attention that this is a thing. Well,
Mhm.
let's make sure that he panics
Mm.
or
Yeah,
has
for
or
sure.
when he's
No, for sure.
driving because, I mean, that's dangerous. Well, flying's dangerous, it could fall out of the sky. Well, what about this chairlift,
Yes.
right? And, hey, you know what? Let's make it so that he thinks his heart's gonna stop
Yeah, for sure.
because that'll get him.
Yeah,
If the other ones don't get him to wake
100%.
up and deal with this issue,
Yeah.
and guess what? If you don't pay attention to that, there'll be another one.
Yeah. You're like bullseye. Especially with a recent big humongous panic attack like about a week ago. It's that. And I feel like I know that God speaks to me in those ways, which I don't like because I want to pay attention to the whispers before and abide by those things and do those things before it becomes louder and louder in a life event. Because that has happened in the past. So I definitely that's resonant because I know that it's that and there has been a lot in the past few days, some revealings and insights of like, okay, I know with this conversation and also deeper as to like what I need to do and what I've been doing.
Awesome. Cool, man.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Uh, yeah, thank you.
That was fun.
Thank you
That was fun.
for the guidance.
All right, and we'll do it again in a moment on the other topic.